in Kansas anymore.
You have my curiosity.
Are you telling me you built a time machine?
The Force will be with you. Assemble.
Welcome back to Get Real, the podcast where we get real about all of your favourite pop culture movies and TV shows. My name is Sam, and as always, is my out of time co-host of the podcast, Chris.
Sorry, mate. I'd love to record the podcast, but I'm a bit of out of time.
Oh,
I'm out of time, so I've got to go.
You've just
You
got
okay
to go,
doing this one by yourself? Yeah.
You've just got to go
Yeah, you
forward
good?
into the past, and then you're good to go,
Are you
mate.
good?
Right, see you later.
Yeah,
Bye. Bye.
I've got to go. Maybe me from the future will come back and do it.
Someone would say Back to the Future. Boo!
Okay, guys, I'm back. It's Chris from the future here. I've just gone and watched all of season 2 of Umbrella Academy, and I'm ready to talk about it.
Do you reckon people are going to realise there was a jump cut there?
Was there a jump? I thought that was seamless just there. Like, I just saw, like, previous me walking out, and then, like, I came in through a big blue glowy portal in the sky, and now I'm here.
Oh, man.
Also, I killed baby Hitler with a spoon or
People
something like that.
don't know
Butter
what we're
knife.
missing because we don't have video content yet. If we had video content, they would have seen the blue portal and everything all happening.
I'm surprised they couldn't hear it. It was fucking well, lad. The dogs are barking and everything.
I was going to say, they can't hear that fucking dog, can't they? I apologise, listeners. There is not my dog this time. There is another neighbourly dog that's just going absolutely ham outside. Potentially has seen a blue portal. This week, we're talking all about the Umbrella Academy Season 2, which we were going to talk about last week, but we had that much news to catch up on. We ended up putting it back to this week. So
There
you're
was
welcome.
so much. There's still a bit of news to talk about here, but there's not too much.
Yeah,
You
so
can fly through it pretty
yeah,
quick.
there's bits and bobs. There's things happening right now, and there's a couple of trailers out as well. So I mean, to kind of get us started, I've got a couple of stories here, Chris, for you.
Go on, mate. Shoot from the hip.
The first one I've got is Netflix anime is gonna. That is a really strange sentence. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell is getting a Netflix anime series.
Ah, okay.
Yes, with John
Okay.
Wick writers who will write and executive produce the show.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. So we've got some talent behind it anyway.
Yeah.
Sam Fisher kicking ass.
Yeah.
It's weird that this hasn't had an adaptation before, you know, with like all the Hitman movies and all the like the straight to DVD movie properties in the past. Not comic book, the video game movies. There we go, I found my words in the end. Video game movies, like, it's weird that this hasn't had one, but I don't think any Rainbow Six property has, have they?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Tom Clancy stuff is actually books anyway, isn't it, I believe?
Yeah, a lot of stuff is, but a lot of the video game stuff now is just its own creation. So yeah, I think the Tom Clancy stuff's been kept pretty tight. They haven't made any adaptations of it, so it's weird that it's getting an animated version.
So reportedly, it's already meant to have been given a 2-season, 16-episode order as well.
Oh, damn.
So-
Netflix are confident.
That's courtesy of IGN.com. I'll fire through the stories that I've got, and then we'll head over to yours, mate.
Yes, son.
My next one is the Lord of the Rings Amazon series. Is going to feature Elrond, Galadriel, and Sauron, who are characters from the Lord of the Rings films.
They are indeed characters from the Lord of the Rings films. So, are they still doing sort of like a prequel before Lord of the Rings, and then they're going to get up to the Fellowship of the Ring? Is that what I heard ages ago, or am I lying out my back teeth?
Well, I don't think it'll be a sequel, because at this point...
Not a
Sauron's
sequel, a
pretty-
prequel.
Yeah, no. So I think it's only going to sit ahead of Lord of the Rings, because I don't think it's going to sit afterwards. It wouldn't make sense. But I don't know whether it's going to go as far back as stuff that we've had in like The Hobbit and stuff. But well, I mean, it's got Elrond, Galadriel, and Sauron. It's going to have something. It would be cool if it takes place just before the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
They
cool.
could always, with those characters as well, because they are like pretty much immortal elves, and like they don't age after like the age of 20 or something like that. Like, or very slowly. They could do almost like an anthology bit, so like you find out about like the conflicts between all the different factions, so like Rohan and Gondor and the Elven nations and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's plenty
So-
of video game stories and characters and stuff that you could take from and put into this, because Lord of the Rings tend to be fleshed out more in video games, didn't it, rather than anything else.
And a lot of the lore is there. Like, it was briefly mentioned in passing and stuff like that. Like, certain things have got things going on with, like, the Silmarillion and stuff like that. Like, there's plenty of stuff to draw on. Like, he wrote plenty of side stories and short stories. You could take one of them and flesh it out.
Is the Silmarillion that really long book that people rave about a little bit?
Yeah. You get credit just for trying. I want to tackle it at some point, but I don't read enough to dive into that right now. So I'd rather listen to an audiobook version of it.
Some would say it's easier to tackle the extended versions of the Lord of the Rings films.
Which I probably will do soon now that I've got my own gaff. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, take a day, mate. Well, you'll need a day. You can't. There's no choice about it.
You need multiple days.
Next story was Mulan is going to debut on Disney Plus. I believe this is going to be in August. It's going to debut on Disney Plus.
See, I think the headline that I saw the other day is that it's also going to release in selected cinemas.
Yeah, so I think they're going to still push a movie release, because cinemas are open in the UK now as normal, aren't they? They're just showing older films.
Yeah, because there's no new releases.
So the ones
it's just
near
all socially distant.
Yeah, so the ones near us have been showing like Empire Strikes Back and the Lord of the Rings films and all sorts of stuff. And then the stuff that was released just before coronavirus happened. So like re-showing some of that stuff as well.
Stuff that a lot of people didn't get a chance to see.
Yeah. So the details of this is basically that it'll stream on Disney Plus, but there's going to be an extra video on demand fee. So you're going to pay a little bit extra to be able to watch it, which is interesting because I think this is something that we spoke about on an episode long time ago when we were talking about cinemas changing forever. That would we do this if it was like if you could pay an extra little bit and then watch a film there and then on that streaming service?
Yeah. I know we spoke about it with Amazon because Amazon did start doing stuff like this with like the Invisible Man and stuff like that. And like that has clearly worked, but I kind of want to see Mulan in the cinema. Like the trailers make it look massive and epic, and like what they try to do for the industry and stuff like that, and what they try to do for this new version of the story. I feel like it would be a disservice not to see it on the cinema now. Yeah, like I think it had the biggest female crew in a film ever, like in like a massive production like this. Like most of the cast and crew were all female and everything like that. Well, not most of the cast because there's a lot of male characters. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Like it's insane. Like there is already on Disney Plus. There's some behind the scenes stuff of it. I think it was like a 3 or 5 minute like mini documentary on like they've got a series that's like all behind the scenes stuff of upcoming projects and stuff like that, and it had a section of it. And it just looks insane, and what they're trying to do is amazing. So I don't know. I might try and see this in the cinema. This like might be my first cinema trip back.
Yeah, it just depends on whether it's because you say it's selected cinemas. Hopefully, it'll be somewhere where we can go and watch it. But yeah,
we are pretty lucky. Like our local cinemas tend to do all these like select showings and stuff like that, especially Cineworld.
Yeah. Well, remember when we ended up in that pre-screening of bloody Logan, and we watched Logan like what 3 days before it came out.
3 days early, and we only found out about that last minute. We were just there like, oh, what's on in the cinema? Or did we go to book the tickets and we saw that we could see it the same day? So we were like, shit, let's get to the cinema.
No, I think if I remember rightly, I think it was a case that we didn't actually know when it was coming out, and we just ended up just booking it. And then when we actually got there and watched it, we realised there was no one there, and we were wondering why the cinema screen was so empty. And then it turns out that it was empty because it hadn't actually been released yet, so nobody was looking at bloody...
Yeah, it was only half full, wasn't it? And it was just like a bunch of like big burly like X-Men fans all coming in like Wolverine t-shirts.
Yeah.
And then like it was just a bunch of grown men crying in the cinema together at the end.
Yeah, people sticking close to the grapevine on that one. Yeah, so I don't know. I think I'll do it because it's been a while since we've seen anything, and if for whatever reason we don't get it in cinemas, then it's definitely going to be something that I'll pay extra on Disney Plus to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I was really excited for this. Like this is one of the few live action Disney films that I'm excited for. Mm-hmm. So I like you said, I'll definitely pay to watch it if I can't see it in the cinema.
Yeah, defo. My next one was a little bit of a trailer, but I've heard that we're definitely not getting a sequel to Solo. I think that's been confirmed now that's not going to be happening.
Okay. I think everybody kind of assumed that was going to happen, but
well, you never know. You could hold out hope. And then there's a couple of rumors of young Luke and Leia being in the Kenobi series.
Oh,
it's an interesting little.
Any casting rumors at the moment?
No, just literally, I've just seen it.
Who would you cast as them, Sam?
You'd obviously cast Sebastian Stan as Luke.
Because of all the fan-made, the face replacement stuff.
No questions asked at all. He's just made for that role. I don't know who would cast as young Leia, though.
Would you get a daughter? Would you get Billy Lord to do it?
I don't know.
think they look that similar, though.
They don't know. I think there's probably someone out there who would look a bit of a spitting image.
Yeah. I don't think you necessarily need to nail the look as much, because it'll probably be like adolescent, wouldn't it? So you'll be changing a lot. Like, I think you've got to find someone that will nail that characterization more.
Well, yeah, hang on. If it's going to be Sebastian Stan, that would be Luke, like, right now. Well, I say right now. That would be sequel. No, original trilogy Luke, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You're probably just going to get some kid actors to play him. Well,
yeah,
so it probably doesn't really matter that much.
Get some good teenagers.
And then one of the last things that I just wanted to really quickly talk about before we move on to other news and trailers is we've got the new Rocksteady game, which is going to be the Suicide Squad game, which we're going to get a first look at on August 22nd. Have you seen
That's what I was trying to remember. I was like, I'm sure there was something big that I saw on Twitter, and that was it, and I couldn't think.
Have you seen this?
I've seen the poster, so isn't it... I'm trying to think what's the proper version and what's the Boss Logic re-edits, because I'm sure the proper version that I saw was it Superman with the target on its head that said Supersize Squad?
Yeah.
Supersize
Squad. Too many trips to McDonald's over here.
Supersize Squad.
Supersize me, supersize you, become Supersize Squad. I think it's going to preview on the DC Fandom, I believe.
Yeah.
Which will only
I'm excited for that, you know.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
No doubt it'll preview on DC Fandom and then it'll just be on YouTube. So,
well, I think isn't that airing on YouTube? The Fandom.
I have no idea how the Fandom works, to be honest.
Yeah, there's like the biggest list of comic book creators are going to be on different panels and everything like that. Zack Snyder's got one for Justice League and everything like that. It's going to be massive.
Yeah, so August 22nd. It is Superman, and it's like you can see like the Superman curl at the front, and then it's got the Suicide Squad. It looks like a crosshair where it's like a cross with a circle. But it's you can't really see Superman's face. I have a feeling
you see the silhouette, so I think it's pretty obvious that it's Superman.
I have a feeling. I'm going to share this photo with you again that I screenshotted, and I'm going to say something while you look at it and see whether you think I've got a hit or I'm talking shit. So let's have a little look. So when you look at that photo of him, if you can look at it a little bit bigger, if you can.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on the internet. I was already getting it up.
I have a feeling that's not Superman and that's Bizarro. Because if you look, there's like a purplish tint to it. And and if you look really closely at the face, it looks like, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look like it doesn't look smooth skinned or anything.
See, because there's a bit of smoke coming from the eye, so I was just assuming that he's just like laser visioned someone. So, because the entire thing has a sort of a purple glow to it.
Well, this is what I mean. What if it wasn't? What if it's not Superman? What if the story is that they think it's Superman and it turns out...
Has Bizarro
not to
ever
be
been
Superman?
on the Suicide Squad?
No, it might not be. He might be the antagonist.
Maybe.
So...
See, because I'm not sure if they've only released that image, because I've also seen a Batman version of it, but I think that might have been a Boss Logic edit.
Yeah, Boss Logic did it with Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg. He did it with all
he's
the Justice
done all of
League.
them.
Yeah. But I have a feeling that that's a lot. That's not
See,
Superman.
because Bizarro doesn't normally have purple skin, though, or anything like that. He's grey.
Yeah, but like when you look at the blue on his suit, it's usually like a purple hue to it.
Yeah.
Like
I do get where you're coming from. That would be pretty cool.
it looks to me like it's got that kind of a vibe because it's not like a dark red. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
It's just bizarre. Like, honestly, it would be really cool if it was just sort of like a fake out and then like it's Bizarro and not Superman.
Yeah, I don't know. But when you look really closely...
He normally looks a bit more like messed up in the face though.
Yeah, but when you look really closely, you can see like probably a bit like the DC Injustice one. You know, the skin you can get for a Superman to make him Bizarro. Yeah. Probably a little bit more like that. But that's where I'm putting my bets anyway.
That's your hot take. My question is, what do you think gameplay is going to be like? Is it going to be like the Arkham games, and you could probably pick and choose what character you want anytime, you can freely swap between them? Or do you think it's going to be sort of more on the rails, as they say with video games? So like you've got missions to work through, and each mission has a different hero, maybe?
What if it's multiplayer?
That would be sick. Like Arkham style game, but multiplayer would be sick.
Yeah, because a lot of the Arkham games have always been a case that you're working on your own. And, you know, they've had the Arkham trilogy with Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. So it would kind of make sense for them to step out into something a little bit different, especially with the Suicide Squad one.
Well, that's the thing. Suicide Squad does lend itself to be a team-based game, doesn't it?
Mm.
It might be almost like, you know, the upcoming Marvel Avengers game.
Yeah.
So you and all your mates can take part in a different thing, and then maybe if you want to play single player, you can do, and then maybe certain missions where you can only play it as one certain character, like there's a Harley Quinn mission, or there's a Killer Croc mission, or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
There's a sniping mission where you play as Deadshot.
Maybe it's like a GTA, and you can switch between the different characters around.
Well, that's what I was thinking originally. Maybe like you just swap and choose the character at any time, and like one could like jump into the scene and another one could jump out, type thing. Like Deathstroke comes rappelling down on a grapple or something and takes over for Harley Quinn, and she just like goes into the nearest bar or something like that.
Or what if, and this isn't going to be the case because it's called Suicide Squad, what if you actually play... No, you wouldn't play a Superman taking down the Suicide Squad. You'd absolutely rinse them.
Yeah, a Batman would be more
but this
realistic.
Is why,
but then why would you name it after the villains of the game?
Yeah, but then why would you put the Suicide Squad against Superman? Like, I don't know. I just feel like Superman would just obliterate them. Like if you put movie or comic book Superman in against Harley Quinn, King Shark, and Deadshot, let's face it, they've not got a chance.
Yeah, but somebody like Deathstroke would know how to take Superman on, you know what I mean? Like, he could be like the strategic leader of him. He could be their Batman counterpoint.
This is
like,
why...
How does Batman take on Superman?
Yeah.
He should just punch straight through the guy.
Well, this is why I feel like it might be Bizarro and not Superman. And also the fact that we don't see the face of the character as well.
I think it was because they were going for sort of like he is that target sort of thing, like that could be in the middle of a battle or something, and then Deadshot's looking at him from like a mile away and he's targeting him. You know what I mean? They might be like Boss Logic's done. They might be ready to roll out a load of different ones. It's like throughout the game you take out different heroes. Maybe you just straight up kill heroes. It's like proper like Dark Universe type shit.
I am extremely excited to see whether it is the case. I'm gonna I'm just be excited to know I'm wrong as well. But I'd be very excited to know if I was right.
We're just excited for this game.
What,
do you reckon this is going to be in situ with the other Arkham games? So it's going to be that version of Harley Quinn and everything like that?
Maybe.
Because we've had a version of most Suicide Squad characters, because most of them are Batman villains. We've had Harley Quinn. We've had Deathstroke was in Arkham Origins. You've had Deadshot in there. You've had Killer Croc in there.
What if, Chris? Let me just stick on this Bizarro theory for a second. What if this game is the Suicide Squad have been hired to take out the Bizarro Justice League? You know,
that would be cool.
You know
that
how
would be
you've
cool.
got the Escape from Bizarro World Action Comics, the really old Action Comics.
Yeah.
Imagine if that's why they've been...
That would cool. Some like alternate dimension shit.
Man, I don't know what to bet right now, but I've got.
I feel like you're making your own game up, and that would also be really fucking cool.
I'm gonna.
I don't think that's what we're gonna get, but I would love to have that.
We will talk about this, and we'll put some stakes on it. Anyway, I mean, you mentioned before about the Avengers game. I've heard that's been a little bit mixed reviews for those that have been playing the beta and stuff. I don't know whether you've had a chance to play it yet.
No, the beta is only out at this current moment on PlayStation 4, and I'm waiting for the PC or the Xbox version, which comes out in a couple of days.
I've heard it's been a little bit lukewarm.
Yeah, it's... From what I've heard, it's... Because we were talking about this the other night. It was only a couple of nights ago we were talking about it. It's kind of like Destiny-esque, but I think there's elements where people like aren't sort of into those types of games, so they're a bit hit and miss, but then like when you're out in the bigger environments, it's sound, it's fine, it's whatever. I think most of the issues that I'm hearing from are sort of like the side missions. So, you know, like the really small missions that you would just run around on Destiny and pick up, and it's just a little loot grind.
Yeah.
It's normally those ones that people are saying it's a bit weird because it's like the characters don't feel right, because it's always like a generic lab or something like that, and the characters don't feel right in those environments.
Yeah.
So it's hit or miss at the moment. Also, just because a trailer's just popped up on the side of the website that I'm looking at, Mulan's coming out on the 4th of September.
Oh, okay, so it's next month.
Yeah.
Because we're recording this in August.
Yeah.
And the episode's being released in August.
It was literally, as I was talking then, it just flashed up with a trailer, and I was like, oh, there's the date.
Nice. That's all the stories I've got. What have you got to cover?
Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon is set to start filming in 2021. So this has been rumoured for a while. There's been rumblings about it happening. So this is a true crime drama set in the 1920s where oil is found on Native American land, and I think it might be like an oil tycoon or something like that has Native American people killed, I believe. And it's an FBI, newly formed FBI are trying to uncover a sinister conspiracy, but it's going to have Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro in. Obviously, classic Scorsese fashion, but this is the first time since 1996 that they're going to be in a film together. So, I'm excited for it. That'll be good. Yeah. Scorsese always puts out good stuff. This is like one of the few times he's tried to tackle true crime or anything like that. So
hopefully it's not like 5 hours long.
I don't care if it is. If it's got Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro and Scorsese, I'll watch it. I've watched The Irishman 2.5 times.
Oh, no. Too many times.
I've watched 8.5 hours of The Irishman.
Jesus.
It's a good film.
Well, I didn't finish it. I gave up.
You didn't finish it at all?
No.
I thought you did. Didn't we cover it on the podcast? Didn't we talk about the Irishman?
No, we didn't do an episode of it. We didn't do an Irishman episode because I don't know.
Maybe that came out before the podcast started, actually. We talked about it when we were talking about the Oscars. That's when we talked about it.
That sounds about right, because it sweeped, didn't it?
Yeah. Zack Snyder's Justice League, he has... So this is like 2 weeks before fandom, but he's shared on Vero a look at his version of Steppenwolf.
Sorry, what's Vero?
His exclusive social media that only he uses.
Okay,
So
I
let
just
me
wanted to clarify that for listeners. And I've seen this. I've seen this. Yeah.
Have you seen this? Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks a lot cooler than the version that we got. It's just another grey CGI monster, but it looks cooler than the grey, horrible, Uncanny Valley brain helmet that we got from the actual Justice League.
Yeah, it looks a little bit more inhuman than what we got. Because Steppenwolf in Justice League just looked like a big human, didn't he? Big grey human.
Big grey human with a weird helmet.
Yeah, where this looks a little bit more... don't know, it looks like a little bit more slender, but a little bit more creepy.
Yeah. It looks more menacing. Like, he's a lot more spiky.
I'm down. Especially because we're getting that kind of, like, younger-looking dark side in that shot as well.
Yeah,
and it does look a little bit more slender. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm still looking forward to the Snyder Cut.
I'm thinking during fandom we'll get a new trailer, which is going to be more Zack Snyder's footage. It's going to be like, this is what the new story is. I reckon that's what we're going to get, because I think he's got an entire panel for it.
Wow.
So that's the only bit of news that I had. I've got a couple trailers that I want to run through.
Shoot.
In our world famous segment, Trailer Trash. Easy, girl. So the first one I want to talk about is coming to Netflix on September 4th. The film is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. It's a film by Charlie Kaufman, who wrote Adaptation and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Being John Malkovich. He also directed later on in life as well. I can't remember what he's directed off the top of my head. He might have directed Adaptation, I think, was one of his first directorial ones. So he wrote it and directed it. Anyway, it's based off a novel. It's like a cerebral horror twisty thing. It's got Jesse Plemons in. It's got Jessie Buckley in the lead role, so she's taken off since Wild Rose, I think it was in. It's got Toni Collette and David Thewlis. David Thewlis, who was Ares in Wonder Woman, if you don't know. This looks really weird.
Ares?
And really interesting.
Ares. Yes, Ares.
Yeah, he played Ares.
Sorry, it took me a second. Sorry.
So this is like a girl is going with her boyfriend to meet his parents, and there's weird sort of time loopy stuff. His parents don't seem all there. Like, the dog is stuck in a constant time loop of shaking off water and everything like that. And like, she's like trying to figure out her place in the timeline and all sorts of different stuff, but it's meant to be kind of a spook at the same time. We got little horror elements in there.
Sounds pretty crazy.
Trapped in a farm during a snowstorm, so she goes to visit the parents, and they get trapped there in the snowstorm. Yeah, it looks weird, but it looks amazing at the same time. It's shot in 4:3, but it's shot like really high def, which is weird. Like, you know, most films nowadays that come out and they're in 4:3, they try to make it look like old vintage film cameras and stuff, don't they? But this looks like it's shot digitally. It's got that digital look to it.
Interesting. It's almost a bit like a Wes Anderson thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like shooting in 4:3 straight away, I thought like Wes Anderson, and some of the framing in it is definitely Wes Anderson-like. But it's so crisp and clear, it doesn't look like it's shot on film. The colours don't look like that, like they look digital. It's strange, but I'm down for it. Like, maybe that's just something just to draw you into it a bit more, because it is strange. It's a strange story. So having things that conflict, like the 4:3, but the sharp image quality, might be something to do with that. Might be what Charlie Kaufman's going for. Anyway, following on for that, we've got Judas and the Black Messiah, which is coming out next year. It stars Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out and Black Panther.
Yeah.
I'm losing things out my brain today. And Lakeith Stanfield as well. He's fantastic. Also, it's got Jesse Plemons in again.
Killing it.
So this is the true story of Chairman Fred Hampton from the Black Panther movement, who was assassinated by the FBI, and they tried to get one of the Black Panther members, I think, to take the fall for it or something like that, or try and get insider information from him and all this sort of stuff. But it looks like a really intense film. It's produced by Ryan Coogler. Nice. From Black Panther again. It's directed by Shaka King, who I've never seen any of his work before. He's made a few films, but they're more like festival films, so they don't really get a wide release or anything like that. But he's directing this, and Ryan Coogler is producing it.
Yes.
Coogler. I kept saying Kaluga. I don't know why. I apologise. Ryan Coogler. My mind is getting messed up with all this stuff. That comes out next year. We don't have an official release date yet. Obviously, everything's up on its arse at the moment with everything. Mm-hmm. And then the final one that I wanted to talk about, there was another one which I haven't had a chance to check out. There's a Maisie Williams film coming out, which seems really dark, apparently. But there's a HBO Max series coming out from Ridley Scott called Raised by Wolves. It says Mother was programmed to protect everyone after Earth has been destroyed when a big bad wolf shows up, and she is the one we must trust. So she's like an AI created. She's got a human robot body. She's an AI meant to raise the next generation of humans on a distant planet somewhere. And
it wouldn't be Ridley Scott if he didn't have AI.
It wouldn't be Ridley Scott if it didn't have AI or aliens or foreign planets. I'm struggling to remember the guy's name, the guy that played Ragnar Lothbrok in Vikings. Who is the actor? It's not telling me. Thank you for not telling me. Internet.
The guy from Vikings.
It's the lead guy. He was the guy from Warcraft. What's his name?
It's not quite.
Travis Fimmel.
There you go.
There we go. We found it in the end. He is apparently the big bad wolf that's coming in, but is maybe she the big bad wolf? We don't know. But this is launching straight on HBO Max, I believe, also in September.
Interesting.
But yeah, it looks really cool, really interestingly shot, robots with psychic powers and weird alien creatures and everything like that. It's like a question on humanity and good and evil and all that sort of stuff. And it's Ridley Scott, so, I don't know what it's going to launch on in the UK and the rest of the world. Maybe Amazon, maybe something like that. But yeah, I'm going to check it out.
Cool. I've got one more film that we should talk about that we got a little bit of a look at. It's Pixar's Luca. I don't know
have we had a look at this now? Because we did mention it last week.
We haven't got a full trailer for it yet. It's just a reveal, but the animation style looks really interesting. Plus, it's a really big, really good move by Pixar because obviously it's focusing on a young boy living in the Italian Riviera. But it's it's good for Italian, especially with everything going on right now. It's a really good thing to be put out. It's going to be coming out summer 2021, and it's going to come out in cinemas, which is also really good.
Yeah, I'm literally watching it right now.
But the boy who shares adventure is basically the boy has a best friend. The best friend is also a sea monster from another world, from just below the world's surface.
Okay.
And that seeks to threaten the bond that they have between each other. But there's not been a voice cast announced yet, so we don't know who's actually going to be in this film, but it's it looks really nice. It kind of has I think it's the background and stuff kind of gives me a little bit of a Studio Ghibli vibe in terms of the actual art direction for it, but then obviously when you see the kids, it's not quite that when they're jumping off the edge. So but the background and the art style and the art direction kind of reminds me a little bit of that, but just a little bit less anime.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused what it's going to look like. So that shot of the boys jumping off is the one that I saw last week when I was talking about it. It's just sort of like one of the mood board images, like this is like what we're looking for. The opening stuff with the water and stuff like that, the water looks like classic like Pixar pseudo-realism sort of water, but then the trees look really painterly, which is nice. And then the title reveal at Luca, I do get what you mean. It's sort of Ghibli-esque because like things are just like moving on different textures, so it looks like it's a 2D animated world but 3D. Like,
yeah, I think the animation
it's strange,
style
but it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks really cool.
And you've got all those like light up bugs. I'm wondering if that's going to be the final animation style, or whether this is just sort of like a, you know, an animatic. You know what I mean? Like a moving storyboard for it.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure, but Pixar have never put out a bad thing so far, have they? So
we'll have to wait and see. Is that all done with news and trailers for the week?
That's everything.
So
we talked longer than we thought.
We have got a main topic this week, which is the Umbrella Academy. More specifically, the Umbrella Academy Season 2. However, we should probably talk a little bit about Season 1, because Season 1 came out and we watched Season 1 prior to us doing the podcast, I believe. So,
yeah, it came out last September, I believe.
Yeah, and I know obviously we spoke a little bit about it when we were talking about our excitement for Umbrella Academy, but it'd be good to kind of reflect a little bit before we go ahead and watch that.
Yeah, I've literally just finished Season 1 as well, so I was watching Season 2 while I was also watching Season 1 with my girlfriend, because I was getting her into it, hoping that we could catch up in time for the podcast, but we didn't, so I think we're like 2 episodes into Season 2 now.
What did you think of Season 1?
Do you know what? She was struggling a little bit to begin with, and then she really got into it. Like, she seriously got into it.
Yeah.
Like, I think, didn't you watch it with Emily as well? Like, and sort of a similar thing. Like, she wasn't expecting to get into it quite as much.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's one of those things where there's not a lot that makes sense, and it drops you straight into this really already pre-established world. It kind of doesn't. It doesn't give you that time to like build stuff up and make sense of what's going on, or explain why there's a chimp butler, and you know it doesn't do that. It's quite unforgiving in that sense. It's just lets you in on it. But I just loved it, man. I love Season 1. I just loved all the one thing that the Umbrella Academy does really well is the musical beats, and how it puts them as part of the scene in the screenplay. It's like in some shots, it's always like the song comes first and then the screenplay comes second. It's like they write the screenplay around a song, and it's just like so perfect. Like just
they choreograph the scene around the music, which, interestingly enough, a lot of the choreography in the show is actually by Ellen Page's wife.
Interesting. I didn't know that. That's quite good.
Yeah.
So we're going to go pretty much just spoilers on Season 1, because we're imagining if you're watching an episode about Season 2, you should have probably have watched Season 1. So
you would have thought. Do you know what? I'll just preface.
Yeah, we will try and avoid spoilers for Season 2 up until a point, so we'll give you a little bit of fair warning.
Yeah, definitely. We'll give you the classic spoiler warning, 3, 2, 1, all that shenanigans. But I'm going to start off then. I'll preface by saying, to begin with, I preferred Season 2 to Season 1, I think. Season 1's really interesting, and on a rewatch, like, you can notice a few things coming before like they happen and stuff like that. But I think Season 2 is probably more rewatchable. So I've watched Season 1 twice now, and it's great both times, but I feel like I would get more out of watching Season 2 again.
What makes you feel that? Is it because maybe the setting, and because I think Season 2 has more interesting. It takes you through more areas, doesn't it? You see more, and you see more of the commission stuff and all sorts of stuff. Like, you just see a lot more. Where I feel like Season 1 is very much about the donut diner, the house, and wherever Vanya is. Like, it really doesn't go much outside of those environments, because I guess that is because it's trying to make you build on the characters versus trying to then just put those characters in crazy positions, you know?
Yeah, literally, like, that's literally exactly what I was going to say. Like, season 1 is a lot more self-contained. It is a smaller narrative because they do need to set up all these weird concepts and stuff like that. I think what you were saying earlier as well is, like, it is a pre-established world and everything like that, but I like the fact that it doesn't explain itself straight away. Like, it does something and it makes you sit with it and see the reactions before you see the cause a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So you normally find, like, the cold open of an episode will be explaining some of the weird stuff from the episode before, which is really interesting. Like, a lot of the stuff in season 1 with obviously Klaus time traveling and stuff like that, you see his reactions and you see the PTSD and all this sort of stuff, and you find out about he fell in love and all this sort of stuff before then you get the explanation later that he got stranded during the Vietnam War and stuff like that. And I think season 2 does a good job of that as well. Like, it'll something will happen and then you'll have flashbacks and you'll have, like, things that explain it. Like, it makes you try to figure it out and unravel the story, and you see where it slots in more without it just straight away cut into an explanation.
Yeah, totally. And it does a really good job of creating interesting questions that then it'll answer much later on, like you said.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, that I know it's a trope anyway of series to do that, but it's not just like there's someone dead, or it's like, why is Luther on the moon? You know, and it answers that later on. It's only once Cha-Cha and Hazel attack the house that you realise that that's why Luther is so massive. And it's like, it doesn't answer that. It takes its time, and it's almost like really cocky, confident kind of thing where it knows that you're going to be interested by what's going on, and it will hang on and make you watch it before you get an answer. It's not answered at all in season 1 why Pogo is a thing. It's not answered at all.
Yeah, it's sort of hinted at. He's saying that, like, he saved his life and stuff like that. Like, he feels like he owes his life to him and he is his master at the end of the day. But then in season 2, it is explored. And, like, I was a little bit disappointed that we didn't see more of Pogo's backstory, because they set it up and they did it really well in that one episode. But I was disappointed that there wasn't more of it. Like, it didn't serve the greater narrative of that season. No. But I kind of wanted to see it anyway because I really like Pogo.
Yeah, it was just like you see, I think it was in the trailer anyway, Pogo appears in season 2. Yeah. And you get to see a little bit of that as well. And yeah, I think it's done tastefully, because there's a lot that happens in season 2. That's
what I was thinking. Like you said earlier, like, season 1 was about the characters and stuff like that. Like, season 1, like, there's a really interesting way of viewing it, of it's 7 different people showing, like, 7 different variations of what having, like, an abusive parent is like, having a neglectful parent. And then season 2, they don't need to linger on that as much, because a lot of them got elements of closure on that storyline as well. But then the ones that didn't get that sort of thing in season 2. So season 1, like you said, was more about character. Season 2 was about situation and subplots and stuff like that.
Yeah, and how much it changes those characters as well. Because it's like the Luther we get in season 2 is a very, very different Luther to what we get in season 1.
Yeah, but it feels like a logical progression from season 1. Yeah, like, definitely. He learned something at the end of season 1, but then he was just separated from it completely for, like, a year. Yeah. So, like, the preface for season 2 as well. No, we're not going to do spoilers, but, like, this is, like, the gist of what happens. So at the end of season 1, they travel through time to avoid the end of the world, don't they?
Which is caused by Vanya hitting the moon and creating the apocalypse. And it's all about stopping the apocalypse.
Yeah, so these 7 siblings cause the apocalypse, like, that they were trying to stop. So they go back in time, but then they all get scattered throughout time. They all wake up in Dallas across, I think it's 3 years before the Kennedy assassination. So it's about stopping the end of the world again, because obviously they changed the course of history with the Kennedy assassination, and they caused the launch of the Cold War and everything like that, and a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it.
They put the opening bit of 5 landing in time, didn't they, as a trailer? So you saw the bit where 5 lands out the portal straight after the events of season 1. And the Soviets have invaded Dallas. And then you see the nukes going off. So that was a trailer. So it is essentially stopping that. but it sounds like it might just it's possibly just a repeat of season 1, but it is much more than that.
Yeah, it's totally different. Like the way the apocalypse is handled in this, I think, like in season 1, you're struggling to figure out how it would happen and stuff like that. Whereas in season 2, you feel like you know how it happens. Like you know it's something to do with either Kennedy is assassinated in the wrong way, or you like figure out pretty early on that maybe it's like it's that classic story of would you go back and kill baby Hitler or something like that. Like if you could stop like somebody or something from happening, how would that influence the timeline? Mm-hmm. So this is like about like, do we stop the Kennedy assassination or do we help cause the Kennedy assassination type thing?
Yeah.
And which will like figure out into the right timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting because straight away as a viewer, you know, like it's got something to do with that. But then the way that they twist the story to like that almost becomes like a subplot into like a wider story, I thought was really interesting. Like that's why I'm saying season 2 I could probably rewatch and get more stuff out of.
Yeah, I enjoyed rewatching season 1. It was nice to go back and watch like all the flashback scenes of them as kids, like where that bank's getting robbed and stuff, and have all that, that crazy 5 back and forward time travel stuff, and the whole Hazel and Char stuff is really funny. The guy who plays Hazel is just so good. He also plays Edward Kemper in Mindhunter. He's just such a good actor.
Definitely. I think season 1 is good to rewatch for those flashbacks. You notice things a lot earlier that come back a lot later and stuff like that, like knowing glances or like certain like information threads being dropped and stuff like that, which are really interesting that you get on a rewatch because obviously, like we said, the way they distribute information to the viewer.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was season 1 or whether just while it's on my mind, I don't know whether it was season 1 or season 2. But at the end of one of the episodes, there's a Gerard Way song that plays, and for those that don't know, this comic book for the Umbrella Academy that I didn't realize was a comic book before I'd finished season 1, is written by Gerard Way from My Chem.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. That was one of the ways that I sold it to my girlfriend. Like, I was trying to explain it to her. I was like, okay, so it's a bunch of adopted siblings who all have superpowers and stuff like this, but they're a dysfunctional family, and the dad dies, and they're trying to stop the apocalypse. And she was looking at me a bit funny. I was like, it was made by Gerard Way, and she was like, oh, because me and my girlfriend were really into My Chemical Romance in high school. So she's like, oh, okay. And then I was like, they have a talking chimp butler. And she was like, okay, I'll watch the show.
But also, like, the superpowers that they have, maybe apart from Allison, are all, like, really grounded. Like, Diego can throw things and manipulate things in the air. But he can't levitate things. It's just that he can throw something like a knife and be really accurate with it. It's like weapon manipulation once the weapon's in the air, like you said. Like, it's such a specific skill. Like a lot of these superpowers are so specific, it's weird. It's funny how specific some of them are. Which is why it kind of stands out from things like X-Men and stuff. And it's like 5 can time travel, but he can also blink to different places in current time, and you've got Allison can say I heard a rumor and say something to someone, and then it'll happen and they'll do it. It's just like such weird little niche powers that it just makes it really interesting because it's nothing that's absolutely like rule breaking. I mean, maybe the time travel's a little bit rule breaking, but
But they use it in a grounded way, and I think the stuff with the commission being like a time and space authority, like makes it so that the time travel is grounded in it. Like there are still rules and consequences to it. It's not just like, oh, let's add time travel and we can wave our hand away with anything. Like every single time jump that is in both seasons has a consequence.
And it's dark, but it's fun. That's what I really like about Umbrella Academy Season 1. It's really dark, Definitely. It's really grim, but there's so many fun moments. It's like the bit where they all arrive at the house and then they have that little dance-off, like where you see them all in the different rooms. And then you've got the bit where where Fives gets attacked. I'm saying Fives like the flaming clone trooper from Clone Wars. Number 5 gets attacked in the donut diner, and then there's a song plays, and I don't know. I love the use of music, and I love how it's got a little bit of everything. It's got like tense moments, it's got really geeky moments, it's got really nice moments. Like one of my favorite moments from season 1 is the bit where Luther and Allison finally have that moment together. And it was
so good, and then it's completely undone in the next episode.
Yeah, because then there's that big thing where like time's just reversed straight afterwards, and it's like let's time travel back and let's fix what we just did. It's like so funny. That when I was watching it with my girlfriend, because I knew like everything got undone, and I was watching it, and like everyone gets such good closure. Like in that episode, because they think the world's just going to end, they all have such good closure. Like you said, like Luther and Allison go to visit Claire, so she would have like met like the couple in love and like her uncle that she's heard so much about. Klaus and Diego have a really nice bonding moment and everything like that. Vanya like discovers that Leonard Peabody maybe wasn't the person that she was, and then she would have got out of that toxic relationship following that and stuff like that. Like they all had such good moments of closure, and then the fact that it's just undone in the next episode was so funny, and the way that things play out is just so great. The one thing I want to mention before I forget it again, the way they evolve the powers in season 2 is really interesting as well. Yeah.
So it's like throughout season 1, like you start to notice a few things are changing, like especially with Klaus. Klaus is discovering new powers and stuff like that. And then in season 2, you start to see the other ones start to like change their abilities and stuff like that. But it's like as they're growing as people and as a family and as a team, it's like they were all held back by the father almost. Like although he was the one pushing them forward to be like these superheroes, now that he's gone, they're able to develop more.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it? That's what I mean. It's not like it takes its time, which is really good. Yeah,
definitely.
I really liked the Leonard Peabody, Harold Jenkins arc, and I liked how at first you don't realize that he's got dark intentions. I like how it takes its time with that. And it's
Charlotte was like every moment between them, she's like, oh, he's such a nice guy, like look, like this is what she needed in her life. And I was just sort of silent watching it, just like, yeah, such a good couple. And then like as soon as like you start to notice a few more sinister things, she was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. and then it kind of guilt trips you a little bit, because it's like, yeah, it's dark, but then he has that moment where you go back to his past and you see him as a kid and how he just wanted to join the Umbrella Academy and he just thought he was special. And obviously, like there's always this thing that Reginald Hargreaves, the dad, is just like horrible to everybody, and then he's horrible, even more specifically horrible to him. And I just love how it just slowly progresses, and then he turns into this really demented. And his death scene in season 1,
that's like what that reminded me of was Charles Xavier's death in X-Men 3. You know, from Jean Grey, where she tears the house apart and tears him apart inside of it. It really had those vibes to it.
Yeah.
Where you had like that R rating like twist on it, where you could get a bit snotty with it.
Yeah,
I think we need to talk more about season 2 as well. Like,
oh yeah, 100%.
Like, should we jump into spoilers for season 2 now, so we can just talk about it freely?
There's a couple of things, but we should probably just go on to spoilers. I mean, we've already kind of gave our opinion on season 2, that we really enjoy it. It's very good. The characters are as good as what you'd expect in it. The time, it's still got all the great music hits and stuff that the first one has. So if you enjoyed what the first one did, it's got even more of that in the second one. It's got time travel shenanigans. It's got some new characters. Maybe we should speak about the new characters a little bit without spoilers. So there's...
Okay, yeah. You've
got Lila, who is a new character who I really enjoyed. We can't really talk much about that, but I just want to talk. You get the commission bits, so you get a couple of the people that you saw from the commission.
AJ, it's a talking fish inside of a robot human body.
Yes, that was in the trailer.
Do you need to know more?
Yeah, that is just like when you saw that in the trailer, it's like, where are we going?
Like that just cemented itself at that point. It's like season 1 was somewhat grounded, and then as soon as you saw that for season 2, you're like, okay, this show is going full on. It's unleashing everything from the comic books now. Like, yeah, fucking go for it.
And it's just so like, I saw that and I was just like, this is just what I want. And I just had that really good feeling that you just know it's going to be good. You just know it's going to be good. And another really quick thing that I didn't know before we go into spoilers, the guy who plays Klaus is actually Irish, like fully, really, really strong Irish accent, and I had no idea. He
played Nathan in Misfits, so he was doing a British accent for that.
Yeah.
He's a great British actor.
Yeah, really diverse. Anyway, right, okay, I'm ready for spoilers now.
Okay. So 3, 2, 1, spoilers. We're doing spoilers for season 2, right?
Switch off.
I want to quickly talk about
and carry on listening to the episode to get our thoughts on it.
Definitely. Right. Fully into it, because I might spoil something straight away now, because I want to carry on what you were talking about, characters and stuff like that. Season 1, Klaus was definitely my favourite character. He was such an interesting character, and I thought he was the best actor on the show. It's fantastic. Season 2 made me like Diego so much more. This was Diego's season for me.
Oh, 100%.
Like I said, Klaus was definitely my favourite character at the end of season 1. And then after this, I was like, mate, I just want to see more of Klaus. Like, he full-on went on an arc in this episode.
You mean Diego?
Yeah, Diego in this season went on an arc. Like, it was great.
Yeah, because season 1 was very much Klaus's story as well, because you had all the Vietnam bit and stuff like that we spoke about. And it does... Well, you get a follow-up... you get a follow-up in this where he finds Dave and stuff and tries to convince him not to go into the military and all that kind of... And he's obviously started a cult and, it's... there is a lot of Klaus and obviously Ben is in here. But I agree. I think Diego got a lot more fleshed out and also wasn't the edgelord that he was in the first season. He was...
See, that's the thing. Like, his character felt more developed in this season because in season 1, he didn't really change that much, except for deciding not to kill Cha-Cha at the end of season 1. He didn't really develop that much, whereas in this, he definitely went through a change, and he tackled a lot more of his daddy issues, because he didn't really tackle many of them in season 1. He tackled his mummy issues in season 1.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting speaking about that and speaking about Diego and Grace. It was really interesting that you find out that Grace was actually built based upon someone from Reginald's past.
Yeah, and... like, he probably would have had a wife and, they probably would have had, like, a proper mum from the beginning if they hadn't messed up their relationship.
Yeah.
And the fact that Pogo and Grace, Robot Grace's relationship was, like, so strong and stuff like that. And then finding out that, like, real-life human Grace raised Pogo as a young chimp.
Yeah.
And she was, like... really, I can't think of the word now. She was like one of the reasons why he became sentient and got the serum injected into him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of favourite characters, I really, really liked Luther in this. I thought Luther's comedic timing with a lot of stuff was really good in season 2.
He felt more three-dimensional as well. Like in season 1, like... He had really interesting turns in season 1. Like, he was like the straight-laced daddy's boy, and then like when he finds out that like his dad sent him away for no reason and all this sort of stuff, like that was really cool and really in-depth. But in this one, he felt like a more 3D character, like he was tackling the issues from season 1 a lot more than a lot of people were.
Yeah, he was a lot more independent in season 2.
It was a drastic change for his character, but it felt logical, and the way that they played out his story worked a lot better.
Mm-hmm. I liked the bit when he went to Alison's house and then met her husband.
He was so good in that scene.
And there's that whole awkward bit where it's like that realization and he sits there and he just starts eating. And it's this thing with Luther where it's like he doesn't have to eat to get big. He's just big. But it's like it's just so funny when he's just like sat there and he's just like absolutely just
he eats his feelings, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's just absolutely sympathy eating at the barbecue place, and then he's really good in this.
That's actually a funny twist on what happens in the comic books. So in the Dallas storyline in the comic books, Luther falls into like a bit of a depression and stuff like that, and he eats his feelings in that, but he spends most of that arc just on a couch in a hideout, just getting massive. Like he becomes like the size of the fucking hideout with this tiny, still like human-sized head, but this massive gorilla body. Like he just ends up eating and eating and eating until he gets massive.
That's pretty.
So that's a really interesting version of how they did it in the show, because they changed a load of things for the show. But that was a really interesting version because it still served his character, and it was like a cool little character quirk. It was sort of like Klaus's addiction in the first season. Yeah. Was Luther's eating, like, whenever he was down or something like that, he would eat.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I want
to talk about the new characters again then?
Yeah, so Lila's a really interesting new character. And it obviously at the end, it turns out that she's got her powers because she was born on the same day as the rest of the Umbrella Academy, which is very, very interesting. But I can't remember, where does she go at the end? Because she doesn't time travel back with them. Does she go back to the commission?
You don't find out where she goes. She just grabs the briefcase off the handler's dead body, doesn't she?
Yeah, she disappears.
And Diego stops Luther from stopping her.
Yes.
Diego's just sort of like, she'll do what she needs to do, and if she needs to come back to us, she will. And I reckon she will in season 3.
Yes.
That was something that I wanted, like, going into this season, because there's what? Sorry, I'm getting confused with the numbers now. Was there 43 children born on that day, or was there 36?
Oh, I can't remember.
I feel like there was 43, and he only got 7 of him, didn't he? So there's another 36 out there.
Ah, right, okay.
So I was thinking going into season 2, I was like, I'm hoping we see a few more of these, like a few other superpowered individuals who were born on the same day. Obviously, the timelines didn't work out, but with there being so much time travel stuff, I was like, they could easily bring characters into it. And obviously, with the cliffhanger of what's going to happen in season 3, I'm down 2 routes of where I think season 3 is going to go. We can either talk about that now, or we can talk about that at the end with speculation for season 3.
Shall we talk about it now while we're on topic? So there's a few things that I really want to quickly talk about with this. So you find out at the end of season 3 that
at the end of season
2 they go back to the current time, but a lot of stuff's changed. And then they find that the dad's still alive, and then Ben's still alive, and then there's a different bunch of people. Well, we're assuming a different bunch of people that are at the top of, like, looking down from them from the second floor.
It's the Sparrow Academy now.
So the Sparrow Academy, yeah. So a really interesting thing in this that I saw on a Screen Rant video is that throughout the whole of season 2, there's always this talk about birds. So you've got Harlan's playing with like a bird toy, and that's when it first shows off his powers. You've got a focus on the birds in the air above the house. You've got what's his name? The guy who is watching them as they're being teleported in different years.
Elliot,
he's watching them, and he then says about how he doesn't like a particular bunch of birds apart. There's all these really weird mentions of birds all the time that then is a link to the Sparrow Academy at the end.
I thought that was coming from the Sparrow toy that Harlan was levitating at the end. That's where I assumed the name came from.
Yeah, so in terms of the comics, there's only just been a mention of the Sparrow Academy. Which
I don't know. I haven't looked that far into it.
So there's a comic called there's a Umbrella Academy issue called Hotel Oblivion, and the Sparrow Academy arrives right at the end. So it's a bit like season 2, but obviously they don't know why each other are there. So we don't know what's happened in this timeline to cause it to happen, but it's maybe because Reginald at this point now in this timeline knows what's happened and knows why they've gone back to the past, that he's able to train a much more capable, much more of a unit Umbrella Academy, but the Sparrow Academy. So
my thoughts are, like, because now Hargreaves knows about it earlier on in the timeline, he's going to seek out people like Harlan and stuff like that, and that's probably where the name originates from. Is probably he'll find Harlan and maybe a couple other ones that exist in the timeline before this now.
Yeah.
Maybe so, like, Harlan is playing with a Spyro toy, maybe that's where it gets the name from. So maybe this is like the newest generation of the Sparrow Academy, because it might have started in the 70s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's a lot more prepared, and maybe he finds like the more powerful ones, because you don't see all of the powers in the Hotel Oblivion volume, but you get to see a little bit of them, and they have that weird floating cube as well. The weird familiar looking thing. We don't know whether that is one of the members of the Sparrow Academy or whether it's like a familiar that's used. But I'll quickly just talk through what the powers are kind of like, just so there's only a couple of them. So
potential spoilers for season 3 here, guys.
Yeah, potential spoilers for season 3. So, one member has Luther-like super strength. So one is essentially Luther, which would be really interesting, because if one of them basically is Luther, but without needing maybe it's Luther and he didn't need the super serum. Like, so, what if it's the same Luther, but he never had to become a gorilla body?
So this is what I was thinking. So my thoughts were one of two things. Are we going to see a different one from the 43 or however many children are born? Are we going to see all new guys, so like he went out and recruited different people like you said? Or are we going to see like doppelgangers of the ones that we've already got?
Because he's still
like, obviously things have changed.
He's still got Ben. So Ben's still there.
Ben's still alive.
Well,
because I don't think they had chance to fully unlock Ben's abilities when he was a kid. I think that's why he only releases the Kraken from his chest, because apparently, I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding something, I think in the comic books he can summon different demons from other dimensions as well.
Ah, okay.
So maybe in this timeline, if he's survived, like, I think he's got a scar through his face as well when he appears at the end of the season.
Yeah, it almost seems like he's a bit more of a leader, doesn't he? And like,
I wonder if he's unlocked more of his powers and he can bring more demons through him and stuff like that.
So another one can turn into ravens. So basically just turns into a whole bunch of birds, maybe sparrows, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. The other one can channel their own pain into another person, like a human voodoo doll.
Cool.
And so then there's 3 other Sparrow Academy members who you don't know what they do. And then that would be 4 if the green cube is actually a person and not like something that attaches with another one of the members. But it's crazy, like this comic panel of this voodoo doll thing is this person stabs themselves with what looks like a screwdriver and then channels the pain into like other people who are like grabbing the stomach and falling on the floor.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it seemed really cool.
So that's where season 3 might go. Like, and I wonder if they're going to end up staying in that timeline and like forming sort of like a super team between the 2 different groups, or whether they're going to go at loggerheads. And because we've seen like 5, I'm saying 5s now. 5 always wants to like make sure that he survives and his timeline and his version of his family stay alive. Are they maybe going to go back and stop the Sparrow Academy from being formed so that they can continue being the Umbrella Academy?
If there's one thing we've learned from the Umbrella Academy, that time traveling to fix something caused more problems.
Exactly. Or whether we're going to get like a super team between the two things, and like there's a new apocalypse. Maybe they bring another apocalypse with them. Or maybe something along the lines of maybe like the multiverse thing. So this was what I was thinking. Maybe Five's powers develop further, so he can travel through time and through space. What if he can, like, because obviously he's doing all these things and they change things, maybe we look at the multiverse and maybe he can travel between dimensions, so we see loads of different versions of the Academy, all with different names or with different powers, maybe.
Yeah.
And they need to find one that they can settle into.
Yeah, maybe. It's interesting because maybe that'd pair well with like Vanya's powers and stuff. Like maybe she could like boost that. Maybe that's what's caused it, with that stuff happening at the same time. Because
she was able to transfer her powers to what was the kid's name again?
Harlan.
So maybe she could transfer some powers to Five, and then, like you said, it makes his powers more stronger or something like that.
I get such total Dr. Manhattan vibes from Vanya when she's fully powered up.
Definitely.
Seems
also,
like...
Speaking of that, I saw something about an Injustice 3 today, and I don't know if it was legit or whether it was just like a fan thing or what, but it was in Injustice 3, and the dot on the I in Injustice was the Dr. Manhattan logo.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because I know you like the Injustice things. Anyway, back to Umbrella Academy.
I mean, just to say that it would be an Injustice game next rather than a Mortal Kombat game, so that'd be very cool. So yeah, maybe. Can we talk about the fact that Reginald Hargreaves is an alien?
So I forgot about that scene from season 1, and then somebody said it in like a recap of season 1. Just said like, "Oh, maybe Reginald's an alien. We might find out more in season 2." I was like, "What do you mean? Maybe he's an alien?" And then like the night before I saw that, I saw the episode from season 1 where you see a bit of his backstory, where it looks like spaceships leaving a planet. And then in season 2, he takes off his face.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I totally forgot about the spaceships leaving the planet bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so that was like a hint in season 1.
Yeah, that is a thing. That is something I totally disregarded and forgot happened. So, a really interesting little fact that came from Screen Rant again. The whole, you know, what are they called? The Mystic 12 or the Mysterious 12 or whatever it is. Obviously, you get Illuminati vibes from them. But
definitely,
in real life, I can't think of what they're called. What is it? Because I feel like I need to get it right.
I think it was the Mysterious 12, wasn't it?
The Majestic 12.
Majestic 12.
Yeah. The Majestic 12 is actually a real... Not actually a real thing, but it is something that is in our world, our time. That it's basically a organisation that investigates alien aircraft, UFOs, conspiracies.
Is this a confirmed thing or a speculation like the Men in Black?
No, the FBI had to debunk it. Majestic 12 UFO documents. If you go and look online, you'll see it. But it's really interesting because they talk about the Majestic 12 in the Umbrella Academy, and it turns out that he's an alien. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
That was so confusing. I was like...
See, like, because they were doing stuff with, like, space travel and, like, a moon base and stuff like that, and I was like, do they know he's an alien and that's why he's on the team? Like, part of the Majestic 12? Or is it completely unrelated? Like, because I've recently rewatched Paul as well, I was like, is it sort of like a Men in Black Area 51 type thing where they're using an alien amongst them to, like, help advance human civilization?
Well, this is it, because they talk about his deep, dark secret, don't they? And this is before anything Umbrella Academy related. And he's obviously wants to do research on the dark side of the moon for some reason. So this is what I mean about how the Umbrella Academy does a really good job of like putting a real random crazy plot in there and then won't explain it and then will gently explain it later on. That's just what they do a really good job of doing. So no doubt we'll get some answers in season 3.
I liked as well in season 2 that they tackled like the civil rights movement and stuff in the 60s as well, like, and how that tied into like the Kennedy assassination and stuff like that. Like there was so many different subplots in this that it was so interesting. I think that's why it'll be more rewarding on a rewatch as well.
Yeah.
As opposed to like we said, season 1 is a very like self-contained narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to see it. We were talking about new characters as well. I can't remember the female character's name again, but the one that was with Diego and stuff like that.
Lila,
and we discovered that she's another one of those things. She was a really interesting addition to the cast. Like, I didn't know she was even in this going into it, and then she became such a big part of the season.
Yeah, because they have her as just like she's in that mental asylum with him.
Did you clock early on or no?
Did I clock what earlier on? Sorry.
Like she wasn't like a mental patient or anything like that. Like there was something going on there, because I thought like as soon as the breakout started, and you know when Diego was like, "Oh, how do you know how to fight like that?" Because I thought she played like she played a mental patient really well, and then like when you see a fight and stuff like that, I was like, nah, she's in there for something to do with Diego. But I didn't think it was going to have anything to do with the commission.
Yeah, I was surprised that it was the commission, but I also, like, it was once she escaped, and I was like, oh, right, she's going to stay with him for a reason, and there's going to be turning out that there's more than what meets the eye with her and stuff like that. So I thought maybe she was just going to be perhaps more superpowered, and maybe she's in there for a reason related to her powers. But then when it turns out that she's the adopted daughter of the handler, and
it's really interesting as well, thinking about it, like how she can like almost like borrow people's abilities or copy them, sort of like Taskmaster style.
Yeah.
Like that's how she was able to like jump around in the fight with Five and stuff like that. And when Five and Diego were getting attacked in the house at the party, like she was able to like throw like a shoe with like a what was it that she threw like with amazing accuracy? So maybe she was channeling some of Diego's then.
Yeah, it's all like these little tiny subtle hints,
so I'm wondering if on a rewatch we'll see more things like that.
The bit where
like
she rumors Allison back was just brutal.
Oh yeah, see, because like Allison's powers like evolved in this as well. Like, so it's gone from just like you can manipulate someone's like free will and stuff like that, to the point where they don't remember. She was able, just by saying things, she was being able to make things happen. Like when she, at the beginning of episode 1, when she rumored those 3 guys' heads to explode, it's like your physical body, you can't make your head explode, can you? But because she said it, she could bring it into existence. So maybe she can bring other things into existence.
Yeah, that was pretty nuts.
Maybe if she could have if Klaus could have channeled Ben like he did when he spoke to Diego, maybe she could have rumored Ben back into existence or something. Like, because she can do things outside the boundaries of actual physical, like what we know is possible. Maybe she could do some mad stuff like that now, and we just don't know.
What did you think of the whole Ben arc and how they put more of a focus on Ben?
I really enjoyed it because in season 1, I thought he was just lingering there a bit too much, and he was too silent. Whereas in season 2, he played a much bigger role. And I liked that as the series went on more. Like I wasn't a big fan of like him playing like a doting sort of ghost wants to like have a body to get with a girl type thing. I wasn't the biggest fan of that, but I liked the journey of his and Klaus's relationship. Like finding out that like Klaus was able to keep him on the mortal plane instead of going off to heaven or wherever the light led to and stuff like that.
Yeah, the whole bit where Ben learned how to possess bodies as well was just awesome. When they're like fighting themselves, and it's like you see it.
That looked great as well. Like when like he was like trying to pull him out of his own body and stuff like that. It looked great.
But then you can't see it from anybody else's perspective.
When they're fighting in the street in episode 1.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah,
but
it's good.
I thought Ben's death scene really worked as well. Like that proper hit me in the feels. It's like he had finished what he was there to do. Like he was holding on, And then he realized, like, in that moment, like, he couldn't go back from that, but he fulfilled a purpose. Like, he brought the family back together in that moment. He saved Vanya's life and stuff like that, and that was clearly his purpose for staying around. And that really hit with me, like, the way he was just there, like, can you just hug me? And I was like, feels, Ben, feels.
Yeah, so in the feels.
I'm so glad that he's going to be a bigger part of season 3 of Feel as well.
What did you think of the Swedes?
They were so funny. Like, you forgot they were there because they were silent throughout, like, until near the end. Like, you forgot they were even a part of the season until they showed up, and you're like, fucking of course the Swedes are here again. Yeah,
and how they're in there in, like, the first, like, 20 minutes, and they just gun down Hazel. It's just
that
brutal.
upset me that Hazel was not in the series more. I thought he was going to be in it more. I thought, like, maybe he'll pop back up later on.
I mean, you don't know whether he survived in the timeline that... Oh, hang on. This is where it gets confusing. Is it?
Because you don't know if he did stuff in those 20 years that he had with Agnes. You don't know if he's done stuff that we'll see in the future, whether he's gone to the future or anything.
Yeah, but the thing is obviously they've not gone back to the same timeline. They've gone to another timeline where Reginald was conscious of what... Oh, God.
Do you know what I'm still waiting for? I'm waiting for maybe a reveal in a future season or something that it was either Reginald or Five, or maybe the two of them that started the commission.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's
in my head, I'm like, Five definitely started this commission at some point.
Yeah, it's like, where does it start? And
because their time travel technology looks so much like his, and because he's constantly trying to figure out a formula, isn't he?
Yeah.
To figure out time travel properly. So if he could put that formula into practice in a briefcase, I'm sure that's going to be revealed at some point.
Maybe it's Old Man Five who does it, and maybe he puts his consciousness into a goldfish, and then he becomes AJ.
See, I wanted more AJ. I didn't need an explanation, but I just wanted more of it. I was like, you can't have a talking goldfish and have him in like 3 scenes in the entire series.
Yeah, especially with him being so interesting. Just
like, you don't make like the most interesting looking and bizarre character in the show and then or maybe they do. Maybe that's just the thing, because the show's so wacky that they can do something wacky like that and they don't have to explain it.
Yeah. And like having like these really strange commission hunters, or whatever you'd call them, the agents, and like how you'd have normal agents, and then you've just got these 3 Swedish brothers that are just like
well, they say they were freelancers at one point.
Yeah, they were like hired. They're like hired
guns.
Yeah, very special, like almost special forces kind of, like that you get them if you really needed them kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just really enjoyed how brutal, silent they were, but then there's that moment where they're all in that flat together and they're like playing with the knife, and then he throws it into one of the legs.
He doesn't even flinch.
It's so funny. And it's just like, there's that bit where they have the like the Viking burial, and then he just like screams into the air. And then there's that Swedish version of
Hello by Adele.
Yeah.
I was like, I heard the chords come in. I was like, this is Adele's Hello. I was like, what? Because we had already had the cover of Bad Guy at that point of Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so they're clearly not just like using music from like when they start playing I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. I was like, clearly they're not just using music from the 60s, but like the use of music was like so weird. Like, yeah, like the Swedish version of that and the cover of Billie Eilish. I was like, so I heard the chords coming in and I was like, okay, this is going to be Adele. I was like, this is a weird song choice. And then when it was in Swedish, I was like, what? Like, obviously it's like a Swedish like burial thing, and I was like, but why Hello? And I was like, why is it a Swedish version of it? Obviously, because it's the Swedes, but then, like, the Swedes were only in, like, that song for, like, a second, and I was like, this is bizarre, but I'm all about it.
Yeah. I liked as well that it wasn't all about Vanya being the end of the world again. I was really scared when it was the bit in the FBI building before Ben calms her down, I was almost a bit worried that it was just going to follow the same thing as season 1, and I just wanted it to do something different.
I'm interested to see where that goes, because she would have still been the cause of the apocalypse, even though she didn't destroy the world like she did in season 1. So I'm wondering if in every timeline that she goes to, maybe because she's there, like maybe we'll see a season where Vanya doesn't go with them or something like that. So she doesn't cause an apocalypse, and then they figure out it's like wherever she is, like there's going to be an apocalypse, whether she causes it or not. It's just her being in the timeline.
Yeah, maybe she's like
so
an
then
omen or
that
something.
could lead to in a future season, maybe like Luther has to like retread those steps of like he did in season 1 of having to either lock her up, or maybe they have to make the decision of whether they take her out of the timeline, whether they kill her or something like that.
Yeah, or whether they
Which
just
could be a
leave.
really interesting plot thread if they follow that through.
Or maybe they leave her in the apocalypse timeline.
Yeah, and they all make it out to go.
Yeah, mate. I mean, that's what they were going to do at the end of season 1. They weren't going to take her with them.
Yeah.
I think it was Fives that was going to leave her, wasn't it? And then it was Luther who was like, "No, we don't leave her." It was like,
how did
switch.
you feel about the amnesia plotline? Because I was like, this is a bit like hand wavy to like sort of get rid of like why they could all be friends in this timeline and stuff like that after what happened and stuff, and get rid of like evil Vanya.
Well,
but then the way
liked
they
it
tackled
because-
it landed it really well.
Yeah, I liked it because it meant that she figured out her powers almost a lot quicker, obviously because she was more aware of it. And
yeah,
I don't know. I liked it. I think it was quite tastefully done. It wasn't like, oh, we can't remind her because she'll cause the apocalypse again. It was just like quite gradually done, but in a way that wasn't overwhelming. What was overwhelming was the FBI agents torturing her and at that point where they think she's like a Soviet spy was just like the moment where you realize why the Soviets invaded in the very beginning, and it's like, oh my god, this is where it's going.
Well, I already sort of had that in the back of my mind because I was like, this is leading up to like the Cold War and everything like that, and things are happening. Like, I was unsure of that plot line to begin with because I was like, amnesia is such like a fucking like easy way out of why this character is not the villain all of a sudden. But the way that they tackled it, as soon as you start to see her and Luther together, because like they were the ones most at odds at the end of season 1, because
he tried to kill her.
He choked her out and then left her in the thing, and then tried to kill her after that, didn't he? Like he went on a journey of like having to be like the protector and the number one of the team leader, and making these bold choices, and then he realizes that he shouldn't have done that. He should have cared for his sister and solved it that way.
Yeah.
So like bringing that back in, so she gets resolution for a storyline that she no longer remembers because she has amnesia.
Yeah,
was really interesting. Anyway, is there any last things you want to say? Because this podcast is getting long.
What did you think of the whole Five realizing that he just needs to go back like 30 seconds? What did you think of that, where the Swede came... Well, she came in and then Uzi'd everybody.
And then the Swede came in and Uzi'd her.
Yeah, and then Five's like twitches and then goes back. And then...
I saw it coming, but it still worked for me.
Yeah, it was still really good. I really enjoyed that.
Because, well, you even literally had the words echo in the show. Like, it flashed back to Reginald Hargreaves saying it's like, it's just a couple seconds or a couple minutes. Like, you don't need to undo everything. You don't need to jump back 10 days to try and solve everything. Because you've got more time to fuck it up. Just learn how to do it little and little. And that also now means that he's starting to master his abilities more.
Yeah, it made me think of the Flash a lot.
Yeah,
when he kind of like started going backwards a little bit and like going through the timeline, it was very much like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm pretty much done. I think I really enjoyed season 2.
I really enjoyed it. I think it was better than season 1.
I think that it's an incredible series in general. I think it's not. You don't have to be into things like Marvel or X-Men or DC or anything to really get a lot out of this, because it's got so much in it, and the characters
I think the superpowers are a side product of the story and the world that it's set in.
Yeah, definitely. If this was literally just time travel and they weren't super powered, I think it'd still be good.
Yeah, it would still work just as well if they were just like good at fighting.
And it knows its style. It does it well. And
Definitely.
yeah, it's pretty solid. It's like a solid 10 out of 10, I would say, for me. Like, I can't
For a
really...
perfect season, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I just think it's a really good series. I just think it's really different, and I know you're going into it, you know there's going to be things that you're not going to expect, and you know things are going to be different. It's like, you could, like, if you had, like, the season of The Flash come out, right, and you knew that it was going to be not Crisis on Infinite Earths, but if you saw that it was going to be Flashpoint or something, you will know what's going to happen. Or if you're watching The Walking Dead and there's a new person, you know there's going to be a twist.
Like when Negan appeared.
Yeah, you know there's going to be a twist where that person's going to turn out to be a bad guy. But with something like The Umbrella Academy, you could watch a trailer and you kind of just park everything that you think's going to happen because you know you're going to probably be wrong.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I thought going into this, it was all going to be about the Kennedy assassination. But then it became all about the commission messing with, like, trying to take over the timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Cool.
Right. That's our thoughts on it anyway. Yeah, I'd say probably 10 out of 10 as well for this as well.
Oh,
I thought
sure.
it was great. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast, guys. You can catch us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube as well. Social medias galore. We are at GetRealPod on Instagram and Twitter. I had to make sure that I was getting all that information right because Sam normally does this bit.
Yeah, I switched it around.
and also you can email us getrealpoduk@gmail.com if you want to let us know your thoughts of this, what you think's going to happen in season 3, because honestly it could go anywhere. Just let us know your harebrained, like throwing shit at the wall, like what you think's going to happen. Maybe we can figure it out between the lot of us. Maybe we do a theory episode before season 3 comes out.
Yeah, probably. We'll revisit it. We'll revisit season 1 and 2, and then maybe do like an Instagram live or something. Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, cool. So you can check us out on socials. Make sure you check out the podcast. We're available on Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere you will get your podcasts. You can also leave us a like, review, rating on all of those platforms. It really means a lot. Make sure you share us with a friend, someone who you think would enjoy listening to it. If we build a community, we've got a community of like-minded people, and it'd be really cool to get something like that together. And just keep supporting us. We don't put ads on. We don't ask much. We just ask that you share, and if you listen to us, just show us your appreciation in whatever way you like. Also, hit us up if you want us to cover anything in particular on the podcast, but
like Adele's hello in Swedish.
Yeah, or any other language you want. we'll figure it out.
But only Adele's hello. That's the only thing we'll cover in other languages.
Yeah, not allowed to do any other songs. Other than that, thank you very, very much for listening. Take care, stay safe, and we will catch you next time.